Keanu Reeves, the only name that can trend on Twitter, and I can be sure it's good news. Like the time he waited in line 20 minutes to get into his own rap party, or the time he did a BuzzFeed interview with puppies. Why else would you know that he's a bookworm like me? Most casual Keanu fans don't know the actor loves to read. He's passionate about books. In the BuzzFeed video, he cuddles a puppy while giving fans a great suggestion.
I'm gonna pick a book that I read recently, Overstory by Richard Powers. Check that book out. I don't have a favorite genre.
The Overstory by Richard Powers, a book about 9 Americans who come together to address the destruction of forests. And I promise you, it's a lot deeper than Avatar. Anyway, if you're someone who loves reading and wants a list of books recommended by Keanu, then I've got you covered. Kinski Uncut by Klaus Kinski, and In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust. And hey, you're welcome. Here's a fun fact. Keanu's a believer in Edward de Vere.
I'm an Edward de Vereian, so the Earl of Oxford. So I'd like to be there 1600s.
And what that means is that he's one of the few who think Shakespeare did not write his own plays.
I always wanted to know since I was growing up who really wrote the plays of Shakespeare. So I want to be there at that moment because I don't think it was really Shakespeare.
Instead, Edward de Vere wrote them, and Shakespeare got the credit. Many people like the sound of William Shakespeare more than Edward de Vere, you know? Goes to show you just how much influence a name has on your career. And that reminds me, did you know that Keanu Reeves almost named himself Chuck Spadina? He appeared on Jimmy Fallon back in 2017 and talked about how film executives didn't think his name had staying power.
Chuck Spadina.
There you go, there you go. That's
And
it.
I'm like,
Chuck Spadina.
and then I tell them that, and they're like, no. And I'm like, what's wrong with Chuck Spadina? Isn't that kind of the direction you want?
That's my favorite
no,
thing.
but then they didn't like that. So I was like, how about Templeton Page Taylor? I figured, I was like kind of going, you know,
Oh,
that way
goodness.
and then that way.
It's perfect because the only thing they could say is, let's just stick with Keanu Reeves.
But they
Chuck Spadina.
Seriously, how do you hear a badass name like Keanu Reeves and say that it's not a movie star name? I mean, I can sorta see where they're coming from. For example, would you want to watch a movie starring Eric Marlon Bishop and Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanotta? Or, you know, Jamie Foxx and Lady Gaga? Yeah, if you didn't know, those are their real names. Anyway, back to Chuck Spadina. Keanu came up with it in order to wear the executives down, and they did eventually.
I tried to wear them down.
Chuck Spadina is my favorite thing I've ever heard of in my entire life.
Although, side note, I love Chuck Spadina. If I ever get into the movies, I'll be Chuck Spadina. Obviously, I'm gonna ask him for permission, but I don't think he would mind. He's too nice to claim copyright on the name. You know, it truly baffles me just how genuinely nice he is. You'd think most of the nice things someone does is for the benefit of the camera. The more people say it, the more they think you're a great person. But when it comes to real-life experiences, people say that celebrities aren't who they claim to be. Some are rude, and some are even terrible to waiters and staff members on a production crew, but not Keanu. Back in 2019, a flight bound for LAX was rerouted to Bakersfield because of a mechanical issue. Suddenly, the passengers were stranded at a strange location, and the baggage handlers said that they wouldn't be able to get the luggage out for a few hours. But lo and behold, Keanu Reeves was right there with the passengers, and he did what he does best, being a humble legend. He calmed the passengers down by rallying them together and requesting that they take a ride. I'm not sure if he was the one who organized the van for himself and the passengers, or if it was already there, but he got them in nonetheless, and took out his iPhone to play some sweet country tunes. And that's not all. He googled some fast facts and gave the passengers a quick tour of Bakersfield as they drove along the streets. Stuff like that just warms your heart, doesn't it? And it's stuff like that that makes me believe there are actual humanitarians around the world. Keanu didn't plan on being there. He didn't pay the pilot to pretend there was a mechanical fault, and he did not request that people record him helping them out. It just happened, and the folks just happened to record it. Like the time he was sitting on the subway and gave his seat to a woman standing nearby. Keanu is a huge advocate of public transport. I've literally never heard of him driving an expensive car or taking a private jet. He always takes the subway when he can. He hails a cab when he can't, and he flies commercial. But there was this viral video a few years ago where he was on the subway, and he was just minding his own business, probably going home from work, when he noticed a woman standing next to him near one of the handrails. He did not hesitate and asked her to take his seat, and she graciously accepted, and he stood and took the handrail instead. I mean, what a guy. Again, it's moments like these that tell you about someone's character. He had no idea someone was recording the moment. He's not even active on social media to see it for himself. I find that hilarious, honestly, but it's just another reason for us to love him even more, right? And then he goes and does John Wick, making a long-awaited and badass comeback to mainstream Hollywood. I remember when it first came out, my friends told me it was like The Matrix, only more grounded and infinitely more epic. I was like, nah, no way, they don't do it like The Matrix anymore, but I'm so glad I was wrong about that. The John Wick franchise has been a welcome resurgence for the actor. For a long time, it felt like he had sort of slowed down and wasn't making big-budget movies anymore. But one collaboration with Chad Stahelski was all it took to put Keanu back on the map. He's now ageless, iconic, and one of the hardest workers in the room. Oh, and a meme. Let's not forget his contribution to meme culture. Ever checked out Keanu doing things on Twitter? The account isn't as active now, but in its heyday, everyone was retweeting Keanu literally doing things. Sometimes he was sitting on a bench, eating a sandwich, drinking a juice dejectedly. You name it, Keanu did it, and the internet loved it. The sad Keanu meme became half my personality from the years 2013 through 2018. I was literally posting that photo in response to everything, and my friends were really annoyed with me. And you want to know the most hilarious part? Back in 2019, when everyone was gushing over him for John Wick and Always Be My Maybe, a reporter asked him if he knew how much everyone worships him, and he blushed and said that's wacky, because he was obviously a little startled. But little does he know that Twitter's built shrines in his honor, and I feel like it's a good thing he doesn't know. It's his fault for being so breathtaking and teaching me that word, so I never stop using it. I still remember the moment he stepped out on that stage at E3 2019 to introduce Cyberpunk 2077, a game that features Keanu as a character and is still horribly broken. But when he explained that the game's environments will be breathtaking, a fan chimed in and shouted, "You're breathtaking!" And Keanu immediately Uno reverse carded him and said, "You're all breathtaking."
The feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
So, if you're having a bad day and nothing is going right, remember that Keanu believes you would take his breath away. And speaking of epic responses, Keanu's most iconic moment was back in January 2022 on The Stephen Colbert Show, when the host asked him what he thinks happens after death. The audience laughed, thinking he was gonna come up with a joke answer. But Keanu paused, took a breath, thought for a moment, and said, "I know that the ones who love us will miss us."
What do you think happens when we die, Keanu Reeves?
I know that the ones who love us will miss us.
I have not seen Colbert be speechless for that long ever. He asked Keanu an impossible question, and the man answered with the wisdom of a person who's been through a lot in life. And you can still find love, happiness, and fulfillment in their life. So here's to you, Keanu, the legend, the meme, the human. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.